So I'm going to tell a story about the character Nancy. Now, Nancy is a character in West Indian folklore who can sometimes be a man and sometimes be a spider. And he is quite mischievous and plays many tricks. But this story starts with another animal called Puss. Now, Puss was a traveller. She travelled over the great hills, across the great seas, and through the vast forests. But today she was trying to cross a river. And she doesn't like water, so she's always had a boat before when she went over the seas. But she was walking about, trying to find a ford, trying to find anywhere to cross, but she couldn't find it. So she just went over to a tree, lay down on the tree, and slept, because cats like sleeping, because they're lazy. And then Anansi came along, and Anansi walks along, all cocky, because he thinks he's so clever, and he got his fishing rod out, and he started to fish in the river. And after half an hour, he got bored, so he went back under the tree. And he stretched, and then he could smell something sweet. And so he looked around, and in the stump next to him there was a hole, and out of it poured honey. So he reached his hands in, but they were grabbed by something inside, something unseen. And he asked in his pitiful, weak voice, "Who's there?" And then he heard her reply, a strong, powerful, dark voice, "Mr. Wheeler." And so, because he wanted to see his assailant, he said, "Wheel, let me see." And so he was spun around and around and around and around by Mr. Wheeler, and then cast off, and he fell in the pile of leaves and grass, which is quite lucky. But then, because it's survival of the fittest, so apparently what he does next isn't wrong, he thought of a devious plan, and he replaced the leaves and the grass with rocks and glass, and he went back to the stump and waited and waited until eventually Chickenfowl came along. And Chickenfowl isn't the most intelligent beast. And she went up to Nancy and asked, "How are you, Nancy?" And he said, "Okay." And she said, "What are you doing just sitting here?" And he said, "Well, I've been waiting for a partner because I have a plan to make lots of money." And so he showed Chickenfowl the hole and encouraged her to reach her hands in. So she reached her hands in and was grabbed. And she said, "Who's there?" And she heard the dark voice, "Mr. Wheeler." And so she said, as you want to see her assailant too, "Wheel, let me see." And she was spun round and round and round and round and round by Mr. Wheeler until she was cast off. But instead of falling into the leaves and the grass, she fell to the rocks and the glass. And then Nancy picked her up and put her in his fish bag. And then Nancy went back to the stump and waited until Mr. Rat came along. And then Nancy can't pronounce ours right, he's got a lisp. And he said, Mr. Yat, I have a plan to make lots of money." And Mr. Rat, who needed some money so he could marry the mouse in the village nearby, said, "Okay, what's your plan?" And so Nancy encouraged him to put his hands in the hole. He was grabbed by Mr. Wheeler. He said, "Who's there?" "Mr. Wheeler." And then he said, "Wheel, let me see." And was cast round and round and round and round, cast off, fell on the rocks, and was picked up by Nancy and put in his fish bag. Now Puss had been watching the whole time, and she decided to teach Nancy a lesson. Not to kill her, just teach him a lesson. So when he walked back to Stump, it was out of sight. Puss jumped down and walked over to the park and took away the grass and the leaves. He took away the rocks, but left the glass and put some leaves there so the fall wouldn't kill her. And then she walked along towards Nancy, and then Nancy saw her and said, Cat, I have a plan." And Cat said, "What's your plan, Nancy?" He said, "Look at this hole here. There's honey. We could sell it for a fortune." And Cat said, "I don't see the hole. Where is it?" It's here. Nah, there's nothing there, Nancy. "Look, it's here." And Nancy put his hand into the hole. And thus he was grabbed by Mr. Wheeler. And he screamed out for help to Cat. "Cat, help me." And Cat said, "But you're not trapped. What's wrong? Just pull your hand out." And he said, But look, who's there?" And Mr. Wheeler said, "Mr. Wheeler." And Cat said, "Oh, you are trapped." "Oh well," life goes on. Walked away, and Nancy was trapped there until eventually he decided there was only one thing for her. After all, he knew the leaves and the grass would break his fall. So he said, "Wheel, let me see." Was cast round and round and round and round and round by Mr. Wheeler until he was cast off into the grass and the glass. And when he landed, he was stunned for a second. But when he got up, he looked down at his leg, and he started to walk away. His leg now having a severe cut, and till this day he limps.